and as a kind of amateur cultural observer, it's a very interesting moment within the film. I think it's meant to symbolize the tensions between conservatism and progressivism within a church which is itself riven with doubts and suspicions concerning possible abuse of children. And the ballpoint pen, I think, is meant to embody for Meryl Streep everything that she sees as cheap, non-classical, contemporary, faddish, and so on. But when I was thinking about this conference and trying to put together some coherent thoughts on what I and what the institution thinks about technology-enhanced learning, I think that within this conference's discourse, it would be very easy to use this scene as a micro-parable that dramatizes tensions between what we like to think is our crusty, suspicious, conservative, and mythical colleagues who resist the use of technology, and our progressive, non-crusty, open-minded, and unequally mythical younger colleagues who embrace technology. But I think, like most simplifications, that reading misses the point, that what we witness in this little dispute between the nun and the priest, at least within the terms of our discourse today, is it's not a struggle between non-technology and technology, but between two types of technologically enhanced writing, the nib and the pen. And it's not that we're watching Meryl Streep defend a pre-technological form of inscription or hieroglyphic that is meant to embody doctrinal religious discourse, but I think what we're watching is a character who is unwittingly entwined within the invisible discourses, the invisible ideologies of an earlier and outmoded form of technie, what Foucault calls a technie, a technologically supplemented way of certainly doing things, but much more importantly, knowing things. And here I think of all of those purple Gestetner duplications I used to get in high school with the teacher with the purple fingers, and compare that now to the PDFs and iPods and email. In other words, what I'm talking about is that technology is everywhere and always has been in the educational model. This scene dramatizes, for me, the situation I find myself in as an administrator within the 21st century university. The struggle, I think, at the U of R, and I think probably at most Western universities, not so much third world universities, is a struggle not between, but amongst a myriad of various forms of technology, many of which are outmoded, and many of which are so cutting edge that our supplies management people can't keep up. And I'll show off that tiny little computer there I picked up in Beijing last week, which is not available in Canada. He chortled and began to brag. But it's not recognized by supplies management, and so we're having a little discourse about that. In other words, we still have nibs and ballpoint pens, but we also have smart boards, writing walls, iPods, and so on. And so with regard to the four questions that Philip asked us to think about, one, how is technology-enhanced learning integrated into the fabric of teaching and learning at the U of R? Well, for me, technology is like air, or if you're a goldfish, it's like water in your fishbowl. Or if you're a philosopher, it's like ideology. It's everywhere, so that you don't even realize you're inside it. As Derrida might say, technology is already and always present, from the clocks on the wall to the buildings we teach in to the chairs we sit on. The point is that technology, as Ernie pointed out, is changing so quickly, it's so ever-developing, that how do you keep up? We try through the targeted offices of CAT, the Center for Academic Technologies, the Center for Teaching and Learning, the Teaching and Development Center, Distance Ed. And I think the U of R, like First Nations, like SciAst, like the U of S, is witnessing an unstoppable move into the most contemporary forms of technology-enhanced teaching and learning possible. The trick is for us to keep up with it. The second question, are there barriers? Well, of course there are, Sherlock. The predictable, apparent ones are fiscal restraints. In an environment when the University of Toronto can, blithely announce that it's gone down the tank for $1.3 billion in their endowment fund, the knee-jerk response is to cut back on spending on anything that's not seen as core. And it's this knee-jerk response, it's not the cost of investing in technology, which is the major barrier, the challenge, the obstacle, what have you. It's the knee-jerk response because now technology enhancement is core. It's only through the use of technologically enhanced delivery will we be able to recruit, retain, and enhance the learning environments. And I use that plural word deliberately because, of course, we know that the learning environment is no longer a singular location of our students. Future vision, well, and I'll skip rewards because it's too embarrassing.